All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, November 16th, 2020.
Happy
Welcome to
Monday.
Money and Mindsets. You've got Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, known as Dr. Money, and you've got Dr. Thyonne Gordon, Story Genius. So we're happy to be back here with you, at least on the same time zone, in physically, although
Yeah, I
maybe
was gonna say kind of, because when you come back, you're still on somebody's time zone. You go through a couple of them. So
yeah, exactly. So far so good for the first Monday on being a morning person. Yeah, I'm a new kind of morning person that I didn't even think possible.
I think that it actually, the time zone may actually make you a morning person now.
I think so too. I think I'm being forced. Anytime you're waking up at 2:33 in the morning and having breakfast at 4, it's like, it just shifts things.
Yep, it gets to shift you right into a different gear, right? You just keep it up. You just got to keep it up.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
A
When
nice early rise this morning too. I got my workout in, a good run, and then actually had a trainer work me out this morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not done this stuff in a while. So okay, we're back at
pack that.
it.
So today
Huh?
we said we were going to do a recap. You want to talk about the points of the recap that we're going to go over for today's conversation?
So, well, if we just the recap, last week we talked about cagey, stay cagey, that type of thing, and I ended that with the questions last week and had a couple of books for people to take a look at. The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. There's a book on getting things done. Had that book, and just a couple of books for people to pay attention to. And remember the clearing of the clutter, the assessing your situation, the gratitude, always being grateful, the execution of your plan, and you are the special ingredient, the special sauce. But today, I wanted us to kind of go into a different direction and talk about the superpowers that we have in terms of mindset and money. And we have some superpowers that help us get to a realization of what our mindset and what our money can be. Now, when we think about the era that we're in right now of COVID, the elections, everything that's caused us so much stress. Everybody wishes they had a superpower to just fly away and whisk themselves away. Like, I just don't even want to be bothered with this anymore because it can be really, really stressful. Our country, our world is dealing with worldwide loss. There have been, when we hear it every day, another death. Millions are dying. This one is sick. This one got COVID. And it seems like it's never ending. And so when we think about that, a lot of times we might think, what is this? How do we get out of this? How do we shift to a different place? Or how do we make it so that we don't feel so bad? And different people deal with issues in different ways. I challenge you to think about the superpower of your mindset, because your mindset is this, your brain and your mindset, what you have internally is this fantastic beast of a system that can take you to anywhere. Things that you think are real, the things that you think are real that are real. COVID, the elections, the protests, they are real, but they're also an illusion because what you see is not always what you get. We may look at COVID as this thing that's stopping us, wherein shifting your mindset, COVID could be something that propels you to a whole different place. But it's all about using the power of your mind to shift the way you think. Now, when COVID first started, I did a series called Shifting Your Crisis Story. And I'm going to be pulling that series back up and reposting it as a podcast because it was a video cast. But part of Shifting Your Crisis Story, the first part of Shifting Your Crisis Story was to get the group to shift the way we saw COVID. So we know that COVID is corona, but it stands for coronavirus disease 2019. That's VID 2019. We shifted it and we said Corona, the COVID acronym for us was going to be coming out victoriously, illuminating ideas daily. And for a while, we started saying 19 days and counting, because I think I started that thing like 20 days in. So they were like 19 days and counting. But after a while, we were like, we don't want to count this anymore. So we did coming out victoriously, illuminating ideas daily. And then we went through a whole series of how do we illuminate ideas? How do we bring ideas to life? How do we bring ideas to light and open them up? So that's what I'm challenging you to do today, is to think about shifting the stories that you tell yourself. Now, Dr. Stephanie, I know you have had some stories in your past. I mean, you've had a multi-million-dollar company that just seemed like it trickled away, or not even trickled, just like a dust in the wind. Share a little bit about how you've had to shift that story that you're sitting in. I mean, a lot of times we're just sitting in our stuff like, this happened. And I can't do this anymore because this happened. I can't do anything because of COVID. I can't do anything because of the protests. I can't do anything because Donald Trump is in the White House. I can't do anything because we're going to get a new president. There's always a reason why you can't. But tell me about what made your can'ts turn into, but I can do this, and I can do that. Share a little bit about how you shifted your money story, which was a money story, rain, let it rain. And then all of a sudden it was like, where's the rain? And you had to shift.
Yeah. It's really probably, I think it was my biggest lift on a shift, because everything that had happened up to that point along my journey, I was very clear that it was God's, my obedience, just like I was so connected to spirit. So I was operating at a very high level within that spirit realm. And sometimes that made me come across to other people as being a little bit aloof. People would refer to me as breathing air at a different altitude. And because also of my introversion, I'm a true introvert working in an extroverted world. I respected my need for the time for myself. So I would, give me the time that I needed, because I give so much in the world and what I was up to. My agency was about, as I said, when I came to LA, just realizing graffiti and the negative was shifting. My agency is big enough, I can hire, I can create opportunities. So everything that I've done has been really focused on who can I help facilitate their possibility about what I'm doing. So to be so young, 30 years old, now at this point where I made a critical decision that was basically gonna cause me to walk away with not a lot from my agency, because my JV partners were trying to force me into a illegal transaction. And I just refused to do that. Like, my rudder was so strong in God that my conversation was that this is not of God. And there's no way that I'm gonna do this. But then my heart broke at the same time, because it meant that I had to lay off my staff, people who depended on me for their livelihood. And I just didn't want to disappoint them. And so I remember sitting in this, and it was tough. It was like, how long do you fight the legal fight? Because if you're fighting the legal fight, then you're consumed in that moment. Do you let it go and move forward? And that was a hard decision. But I remember taking counsel, and I forget the gentleman's name now, but there's a gentleman that teaches an executive program at UCLA, real popular guy. And he has like this extended ed program that a lot of executives or people will go in and take. And so I remember getting an opportunity to have a conversation with him. And so he said, you are so young and you are so brilliant. And if you spend the next many years litigating with these guys, that can become all consuming. And I know it may seem like a hard thing to do, but if you shift your perspective and kind of think about what is next, like what can emerge from the ashes, and then kind of in the same thing, you may not know, others may not know, at the same time, my mother died unexpectedly. So I'm dealing with my business, so all of my wealth. I'm dealing with now my 48-year young mother took a nap and died instantly. And then next in that, I became pregnant. And then the father had medical challenges. So it was just like, really? Like most people would say one of those things by itself is enough to break you. But to have all of these things, and then now I'm with child, and I don't want this child in the womb to experience the stress of all of these things in life. And so then I remember having lunch with a colleague who pointed out to me, because I was feeling uncertain about this baby. I don't have my mom, how am I going to do this? My family's not close by. I'm dealing with this business. I'm, losing some of my investments. Like, what is next going to look like? And he said to me, he said, Stephanie, what I know about you is you love to teach. So if you think of this child as your ultimate pupil, then, so he gave me the state change. So one gave me the state change for the business. He gives me the state change as a mom to relax into doing what I know how to do well. And then the last of it was really just connecting. I was active. I went to work for the church that I was a member of at the time, and just being in an environment where I was able to sort of heal my spirit that was hurting, because I knew I was hurting, and I didn't trust rushing to the next business deal, because I was blinded by the emotions of the various things, and I just didn't have a clear head. So I was uncertain about that. So it was literally getting yourself to the point where you said, it can't all be a one. So that became like so another friend of mine casually had gone through losing his business. And his last point was, Stephanie, that money is gone. So no time wasting there. So then my focus became, what can I do today? It can't all be a one. So today, what's one? Ordering my steps of what needed to be accomplished in a day. And I'm gonna do everything that I can to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna go to sleep, satisfied. And then when I get up tomorrow, I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna ask God, okay, what's supposed to be the one today? And it seemed like such a tedious process when I was living it real time, but it was the only way that I could get my brain to beginning to be effective. Because each day, as I made little accomplishments, it was sort of like eating an elephant one bite at a time, as opposed to trying to take bigger chunks than I could possibly take on. And that made the difference. That made the difference in everything.
Absolutely. So it was about assessing it, looking at your situation and dealing with it in a different way. And one of the things that you said that I think is really important, making sure you have a set of core values. This is for a business. This is for life. The bottom line is your business is based on what your values are in life. If you value integrity, that should be a part of your business, that I'm going to do everything in an integrous manner. If you value teamwork, then you want to do things with teams. Whatever your core values are, have to be integrated within all the aspects of your life, because you won't be in alignment and you won't be in balance so that your mind can take you further if you're out of that core value mindset. Integrity is something I value. And so, as Dr. Money said, when someone asked her to do something that wasn't right, I wouldn't have been able to do it either. No matter what, at all costs, I probably would have lost. I would have lost the money, but I would have maintained my values. There are some things money can't buy. That is one of them. Your integrity, your honesty, the way people work together. There are just different values that you can't pay for. And that's where when you're shifting your mindset, you begin to understand the real value of money. So this past weekend, I went back to something that I've stopped doing for a very long time. I have began to really take care of my health. My self-care is of utmost importance to me. I believe having a healthy body is paramount to having a healthy mind and healthy emotional condition, and all of those things go together. I take breaks and things like that. It's not like I'm working out every single day and all that, but I kind of do. But I enjoy it now because it's a part of my lifestyle. And I was asked to work on something that would cause stress, take me away from my routine, cause me to kind of fall into bad habits because of the stress and anxiety associated around getting it done at the last minute and all that kind of stuff. So people will always ask me to do grants and different things like that. And I kept saying, it's not enough time for this. I don't think this is the one. It's not enough time, da, da, da. But I let the person talk me into it. And so I started this stressful trying to gather information, research, do all these things. People don't understand what it takes to write a grant or to put a team together or to build something. They just know I know how to tell stories, and I know how to tell stories that can fund different projects. And I don't mind doing that, but only when there's the right people, the right place, everything is band together. So I spent countless hours getting out of sync, and I could see my body was just out of sync and out of control. That's why my workout was so hard this morning, because I didn't stay in my rhythm and my flow. I didn't get enough rest. Rest is paramount to having a clear mindset. You have to get the rest. Even Dr. Money has insomnia. She can't sleep all the time. I'm like, go lay down and close your eyes anyway. Rest your body. Your body needs the rest. You think you don't need rest because you got everything going on in your mind. I got to get my homework done. I got to do this. I got to read this book. I got to meet this person. I got to go over here. I got to set up all these connections. So that is what keeps you awake, because your mind is busy. You got to shut it down. Even when your mind won't shut down, your body is like, just lay down, close your eyes. You don't have to go to sleep, but you're going to rest this body. So rest, paramount to having a clear mind. The key is stick with your values. Shift that crisis story by holding who you are internally. Dr. Money had to remember who she was and bring that person back out to deal with the loss. And again, you heard the different losses: the loss of her mother, the loss of a business, the loss of business partners. Mm-hmm. And the loss of the business partners is even bigger than just, oh, my business partners left. Because when you are not in alignment with the people that are around you, it's a greater loss, because now you're thinking, did I not know me, or did I not know them?
Right.
And that's even more devastating. It's like being in a relationship with somebody and all of a sudden you find out they're a totally different person. Yeah. So if I'm in a relationship with a man and all of a sudden I find out that man was a woman, and it's like, how'd this happen? How did I not know? You're totally confused, and you doubt that gut. You doubt yourself. You doubt your values. You doubt everything. You're like, but it must be me.
Yeah.
It has to be me. I'm going to be accountable. It has to be me.
Right.
It's not always you.
Yeah.
It's not always about you.
Right.
Because the universe has lessons to teach.
That right there. It's not always about you. That.
And speak to that a little bit more, because people really don't get that. And that's why the 4 agreements is so important. Don't take it personal and don't make assumptions.
Right. So it was because, having been such a young person, one of the things that I learned about accountability when I was 9 years old. And so it was odd to me that adults were like, we have to learn how to be. I'm like, what do you mean? I learned that at 9 years old. And how I learned it was I overheard a family matter that was of great concern. And at 9 years old, I felt that I had the wisdom to participate in helping to be part of the solution for the problem that the family was discussing. And so I remember asking my mom, could I take on these additional responsibilities at 9? And they were pretty significant responsibilities. And my mother allowed me to kind of take on these responsibilities, and she held me accountable. So then when I was a teenager and those responsibilities were still there because I was a teenager, they didn't go away. I mean, she held me to it. So it wasn't like it was something that I could have gotten away from. Now, in truth, the responsibilities were really a big burden for a 9-year-old. But in reflection, it's been part of the grooming, because now I believe that that was part of what I needed to get from her in the short time that I was going to have with her. And that was going to be part of it. But what it left me with in this accountability, that whenever anything happened that was not based on what I expected as an outcome, the first person that I blamed was me. And I took all of the responsibility, and I would pick myself apart, like with a fine-tooth comb. Like I would literally go through everything, recapping every step, every decision, every like just, ridiculous amount of tearing myself apart. And so there was a point that I realized, well, heck, nobody else has to work at tearing me apart. I'm doing the best job myself. And so it took a long time to learn that you can hold yourself accountable, and you already know that you held yourself accountable because you were diligent along the way. And you can only know so much. I did all these things, and it was a different set of leadership with my JV partners. And so that's what happened. The new partnership that came, there was no way that I could have evaluated them. I didn't know them. They didn't know me. They didn't know about our deal. So all they wanted to do was tear it up just because they didn't create it. Something I didn't know that the people cared, didn't care. We don't care about losing money. We didn't pick you, so we don't want to be a part of it. That had nothing to do with me.
And boy,
right,
that's quite a lesson to get. And a lot of times that particular lesson can feel painful because then it kind of hurts. Like, you don't want me,
And I've given my life for this. Like, I've sacrificed being a young, adult. I wasn't partying like my peers. I wasn't going to club. I've sacrificed my life. I wasn't in a relationship. I've sacrificed all these things with this mission of, I was trying to retire my mother early. And I was trying to take care of all of my employees. And then I was at, a $250 million JV. And my goal was to become $1 billion company, because at $1 billion, I saw what I could do in the world. Obviously, I could hire more people, but I could also infuse them with a certain type of leadership. And at that time, which just kind of talks about why it was God's infusion. For some reason, as a young person, I knew the distinction between a zero-sum game philosophy and a positive-sum game philosophy. And so a zero-sum game philosophy means that it's a win-lose proposition. So in order for me to win, everybody that I deal with has to lose. A positive-sum game philosophy says that there's a way that we can both win, that there's abundance. And so I don't need to rob you in order for me to win. But if I bring what I bring to the table and you bring what you bring to the table, we're actually expanding our possibilities. So we all have plenty to win. And so people would say to me, "You're so naive. We're so glad you're so innocent and naive as this young entrepreneur." But reality is going to set in, and you'll be playing the game the way we play it. And to this point, 30 plus years later, I still ascribe to a positive sum game. And finally, the shift is being forced to happen in the world. So it's finally like all of those things that seem to be obstacles that I felt were aiming to break me turned out to be blessings that were preparing me for this season right now that I'm in, and the swiftness to what this season is, within which this season is actually manifesting. Like, the rapidness of what's manifesting, it has confirmed another thing, that if you don't prepare to be ready when your opportunities strike, you don't have enough time. You can't catch up. If I had to go and try to catch up to what's happening right now, real time, I wouldn't be able to participate in the opportunities, because it's too much to try to learn real time while doing the deals at the magnitude and level of these transactions who are impacting people's lives at this level, right?
You would be able to participate, but not at the level.
So
what you're saying is, when you're preparing yourself for moving to different levels. So when I talk about shift And when we talk about shifting and playing that win-win game, we're talking about preparing yourself along the way. That's the foundation. That's the clearing up the clutter. That's getting yourself ready, because the time is going to come. This COVID thing, all this mess that's going on right now, this is the time to prepare yourself. This is where you're building the foundation. This is where you're making way. So whatever you're doing or not doing because of this crisis, you still need to be doing some things to prepare. Whatever you're feeling because of this, the anxiety, the stress, the pressures, clear that out too. And it's okay to feel a little anxious. I mean, we all are sort of like, wow, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? I was biting my nails election night and the whole week. And I was just like, okay, I can't watch it anymore. So again, clear your mind. Sometimes you got to turn that stuff off. I started watching the mind-numbing television instead. I was like, okay, let me just binge watch a show that's like positive and funny or something like that to get my spirits back up. You can clear your mind with all sorts of different ways. I listened to the positive music. We talked about that. So when you talked about that the two types of, I call it a win-win situation, but explain it in the money terms again. Right. Explain the two.
Sure. So zero sum, a business philosophy, is that in order for me to win, so that means that if I'm trying to do a business deal with you, I've got to try to make it so advantageous for my interest that your interests become really a loss, which I think that's not sustainable. Even Dr. Covey talks about that win-lose propositions are not sustainable, because at a point, you're not going to want to keep dealing with me. You're not going to want to do a deal with somebody that every time you come to the table and do a deal with them, you're losing. So that's the same thing when we talk about our delivery, our business, how we're presenting our services, how we're pricing what it is we're providing. If we're overcharging our customers and we're underperforming, they're not going to continue to deliver. They may deal with us for as long as they need to until they can find a replacement, a better solution. So when you talk about then shifting to a positive sum game philosophy, it means that I'm looking to give as much value, even more value than what that person believes that they are expending for that particular value. And it's in Wallace Wattles as well, because he talks about you cannot expect that you can cheat people out of the value, because you're shortchanging yourself, whether you realize it or not. And then even Dr. Oliver made a point that he was sharing to me about. There was a study done that the key to long life, he gave me the 5, I don't remember the 5, but I'm telling you the number one issue that contributes to the length of your life. The number one is how you treat other people who are not.
Absolutely.
I was like, so not only is this stuff that we know, but there's scientific medical data that says that if you're a toxic, negative person and you approach situations from that negativity, believe it or not, you're also impacting your own health and wellness. So that would be the number one thing contributing to your possibility, your shortened life.
And zero sum is about your zero summing yourself as well. So zero sum is your lose. I call it lose-lose. It is not win-lose. It's lose-lose.
Yeah.
Even though in business, they'll call it win-lose.
Right.
That's a business term. So somebody wins, somebody loses. Even if I win sometimes with you, I probably don't want to keep playing this game, because I feel like my loss, I shouldn't be in a situation where I'm always losing, or I'm losing even half of the time.
Right.
Why can't we both win?
Yeah.
Win-win is both parties are walking away feeling good about the deal. Absolutely. And so that's what Dr. Money is talking about. Now, the thing with zero sum and the key to this lose-lose situation, you're losing inside. Even if you think you won, oh, I got over on this person, or this happened, or that happened, you lose. You're chipping away at your character. You're chipping away at what we would hope would be core values. Now, I don't know a whole lot of people who have a core value of, I like to cheat. I don't know. I don't usually see that in it. That would be kind of a funny business manifesto. My core values are we cheat people, we run up prices. We always want to win at any cost. We step on all the toes. Can you imagine a business having this written down? We don't believe in anybody. We hate customers. We just want their money. That's how some businesses operate.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's how some people even treat themselves when they're not putting back out into the world. So today's message is all about taking a look at this situation that we're in and starting to get some better foundation that you need after clearing the clutter and assessing the character that you need to run a business or to do a project or make your idea come alive, setting your core values and making way from all the stuff that's happened, all the bad stuff that's going on, shifting your mindset so that you can elevate to a different space. So again, that preparedness to move.
Yeah. It is. And, I had told you how in the mornings when I'm preparing, when I was walking on the beach, 7 Mile Beach, I was listening to Joel Osteen, so I like to listen to. And I said, it's been amazing because, he has thousands of messages. And it just seems like every morning his message is so relevant to what I'm thinking about, almost even what we're talking about. His message today, it was 775, and he talked about the right thoughts and how closing the door to your mind so that you're selective to what you're He talked about making sure you understand what should be deleted, people, negative words, and what negative environments. And he even went on to talk about you can have dreams and goals, but if you don't have a plan and if you don't spend time taking action steps, reading books, identifying mentors, studying, then you miss the opportunity for God to step in and to activate your plans further. And so you don't know, and I talk about that when I talk about strategy. Like, you are not supposed to do God's part. You're supposed to do your part. Where am I and where am I going? But the how.
I can't take it back just a little bit.
No. Let it go, because God has the ability. I mean, I think what's going to be so powerful is once Dr. Oliver and I start to tell our story, our testimony is phenomenal, and it's going to bless so many people. But the lightning speed to which some of the things that we were both pushing from our side to get to manifestation, but once we intersected and connected, it's like it was already a fire. Now somebody threw gasoline on that fire, and suddenly that fire has spread across the world.
Let me tell you, Dr. Money is doing a little tease about a next week's show, but we're just, y'all gonna have a special. We have a special. We're having a special next week. You know how they have the ABC after school specials? We're having a morning special. Okay. That's next week though. Okay. Tomorrow we have a special guest too. You want to talk a little bit about tomorrow's person?
Yes, tomorrow we're going to be blessed with having Shalon Douglas join us. And Shalon is a phenomenal young woman, beautiful entrepreneur, mother. She checks all those boxes. We were introduced some years back because it seemed that we had similar interests. She has a real estate background. She's a tech entrepreneur, so she deals with training and coding and all of those things. And then she also had a big foot in entertainment. And so she'll be able to share how sometimes people think, well, those are all different things, but no, there's a commonality between all of those things. So she'll be able to share how her common abilities has transcended each of those spaces. So our topic for tomorrow, do you have it handy? I forgot
I do. So, and the other thing about Shalon, I had an opportunity to meet Shalon as well. She's just brilliant. Shalon has had to shift and move into different spaces as well. So tomorrow's topic is rebound and reconnect. So now we already started talking about, hey, stuff happens. We get into a difficult world. It's a lot of things going on right now. and it can make you feel like you're just sitting in your stuff and you just can't get out of it. Dr. Money shared a little bit about how she had to go through a difficult time experiencing loss and grief, just like, you know, people are experiencing loss and grief now. Shalon is going to take us and talk about how do you rebound from it? Okay, time to bounce back. I'm talking about mindset and all that kind of stuff, but you're like, so am I supposed to just think my way out of it? Shalon is going to rebound us and reboot us in different ways where you could get some little sparks going. You know, your sparks can fly. Things start triggering, and all of a sudden, those things happen, which is why we really want you to be prepared. We'll keep talking about preparedness and having that foundation and that structure, because that's really important. So yeah, can't wait for rebounding and reconnecting with Shalon tomorrow. And Dr. Money, it's good to see you back on this coast. I love your hair.
Thank you. Turns out that somebody likes it. And since we are experiencing some R&R, I happen to be at the Red Rock Casino for a few days. You know, you can't swim easily, you know, dealing with complicated hair. So I just said,
You can't. Nope, you can't.
The opportunity to swim, to work out.
Well, so, and this is another story, but while we were in Jamaica, Dr. Money freed herself by allowing her hair to just be out. I kept saying, why don't you just leave it out? It's like, I like straight hair. It needs to be straight. And I'm like, well, you're going to be doing a whole lot of work here in Montego Bay. So next thing you know, she was just like, it's just too hard to deal with. I mean, at one point, I thought she was going to be just sitting in the middle of the floor like, I don't want to do my hair. For real, like a temper tantrum type of, I don't want to do my hair.
And because remember, after we got that blow dryer, I was so excited. I'm a blow dry it and I'm a flat iron. And then I went in that darn bathroom, and 2.5 hours later, like I was ready for a mental breakdown because I had to spend that time on my hair.
I was like,
and then
why are you doing this extra work?
To the water,
and it was gone. And as you can see, she has beautiful brown girl hair that is just, you know, people like that. Those are the type of people that you're just like, yeah, I don't like you. That's what my daughter Mathia, that's what she says to her auntie Cece, because Cece's hair is just this. I mean, Cece's hair grows like weeds. First of all, she'll shave it and then it's back. I shaved my head; it's gone for a good year. But Cece's just grows like that, and she'll be like, I want to get braids like yours, Mathia. And my daughter is just like, yeah, I don't like you. Because Cece has all this, like, what are you talking about? You don't need extensions. You've got hair. So
yeah,
that's Dr. Money. It's like, you don't need a curly wig. You have curly hair. What are you doing? So it's beautiful.
Thank you.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right. So thanks again for joining us for another episode of Money and Mindset with Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, known as Dr. Money, and Dr. Thyonne Gordon, Story Genius. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Same place,
Bye.
same time. All right. Signing off.